This is Lucky, a fledgling Eastern Phoebe. Oh, she just flew again. Lucky just fledged her nest this morning, and it's a long story about how she got to where she got. So if you have a few minutes, I'll tell you that whole story. Lucky appears to be the only survivor of a nest of initially 5 eggs. And over the past 2 weeks, there's been quite a saga associated with this nest, as is typically the case with many backyard birds this time of the year. And the story relates to a family of Phoebes and a predator and a family who helped it. That would be my family. So let me tell you a little bit about what happened while I try to relocate that little guy or girl. We don't know if it's a male or female. But Lucky works both ways, right? So right now I'm seeing an adult Eastern Phoebe up in these dead branches calling, giving a contact call, keeping in touch with its youngster, its only surviving youngster. We're pretty sure of that because 2 days ago, a blue jay came and raided the nest. Blue jays are ferocious nest raiders, and unfortunately they're responsible for a lot of losses this time of the year in the backyard. So let's take a look. I'll show you what we were looking at for the last couple of weeks. So in this little cove underneath my house, we set up a ladder here so we could handily peek in on these guys every once in a while. There was a nest here. Here's what's left of it. This nest was caked with mud, made up of mosses, grasses, pine needles. Nest isn't there anymore, and that is because we moved that nest just today in order to give Lucky a better chance. So in here, unfortunately 2 days ago, a blue jay came in. My family was here, they heard the squawking, and a blue jay somehow found this little tucked away spot and pulled at least 2 of the babies out of the nest. So that was obviously pretty tragic for us, watching this Phoebe over the last couple of weeks. We watched the adults since they arrived back here in late March. Phoebes are among the earliest of the migratory birds. They're a songbird, a flycatcher, and I'll show you what they look like here. Eastern Phoebe, a relatively drab brown bird, brown on top, longish pointed bill, long tail that wags constantly. That's one of their key distinctive field marks for behavior. They, just like our birds, they nest in strange places attached to houses usually. They also will use ledges, though, rock cliffs, and upturned stumps and roots sometimes. So they winter in the southern U.S. and further south, but they breed all throughout the eastern U.S. and Canada in places like that. So in New Hampshire, they're a very familiar backyard bird. So when the nest was raided, we intervened. We usually try to let nature take its course, and that's usually the best course of action. But in this case, my wife and I, both being biologists, we knew how to handle this situation, and we had in our back pocket a call to Wings of the Dawn, Maria Colby, who runs the Rehabilitation Center in Henniker, where a lot of New Hampshire Audubon's baby birds this time of the year end up finding care. We did call Maria. We consulted with her and asked her what the best course of action would be. She did recommend moving the nest. However, we waited a little bit just to see what would happen. The blue jay came back in a time when we weren't around to discourage it, and it took 1 more out of the nest. Actually, both of them fell out of the nest. The 2 remaining youngsters that were little fluffy balls of about a week old were somewhere on the ground or were being eaten. We scampered around, searching very carefully on the ground, and it was my 8-year-old daughter who found little Lucky on the ground. At that point, we decided to to try to take her in ourselves and just hang on to her, because we thought it wouldn't be a good idea to put her back in the nest after she had either jumped out or been moved out. We knew she wasn't quite ready for fledging. She was very small. She had a very small tail. Her feathers weren't fully in, and it would take probably another day or two at least. So here we are one day later, and today's action was to, after having her indoors and feeding her a little bit, we made a concoction of hard-boiled eggs, mackerel, and mealworms. Sounds delicious, right? So Lucky thought it was pretty good, though. She had plenty of bellyfuls of that. We fed her every half an hour. We kept her in an enclosed area, and she was warm, so she had a chance. Today, we decided, after hearing the adult Phoebes coming close to where she was on the screened-in porch right up here, to try to move the nest to an old Phoebe nesting spot, another shelf that is built up here. So because the adults took interest in her, we figured we would give this one a try. So we moved the nest back up to this shelf here, which is well protected in between a couple of beams, well away from the open area where potential predators would come. Not to say that couldn't happen, because it already happened in an enclosed area, but gave her a chance. Family stood back and watched a little bit. The Phoebes were coming in, the adults were coming in with food. We didn't get to see any feeding underway, but in a short amount of time, Lucky took off. Lucky flew from the nest right across to this wood pile and then beyond. And from that point on, we lost track of her, except for watching the adults making a lot of noise. So this was particularly exciting, that the bird successfully fledged. It at least made it out of the nest, giving it a chance to be protected by its parents. And that's what they're doing right now. This is probably half an hour later. I was planning to, let's see, I'll take another peek here. Assuming the bird may have come back to the same spot, as they sometimes do. Nope, not there now. So yeah, the parents are currently protecting Lucky as best as possible. We already watched them chase off a chipmunk that was climbing the tree that she was perched in. So here we are, fresh into Lucky's life outdoors, and we hope that she has a chance to make it. Eastern Phoebes, though, will not give up now. It's early June, and Phoebes will have a second brood very often, so we expect that these adults will re-nest fairly shortly after feeding our little Lucky here for the next few days or weeks. They may start nesting again on one of the two nesting spots on the house. So it's a tough life for birds. We can do things to protect them, though. There are a lot of strategies on our webpage, www.nhaudubon.org, that show you how to protect birds. Maybe you have a little fledgling Phoebe of your own in your backyard, or hopefully more than one. There's a lot of other nest videos you can check out that we've done this week. Check out our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. The Facebook page is New Hampshire Audubon. And it's been fun bringing you a little bit of a look into the nests in my own backyard this week. So maybe check back in, and possibly if I find any more nests, there'll be more footage coming up. So, but now it's off to the woods, so I can try to locate more nests. So thanks for joining me, and happy nest searching.